Angelina, what does this movie say about family to you? 'Cause this one's all about family.
It's about family. It's also about it's about a few things to me. It is about family, and it's Aurora and Maleficent were first brought together and became a family. They weren't really expecting it. Maleficent was harmed in her life, and she'd lost herself and lost her ability to, I think, be soft or feel love, and the love of a child, which certainly happened for me in my life. Being a mother brought out something in me that completely transformed me. And I think, but we are different. We're different creatures in the film, and so there are metaphors in the film, and not to be heavy about it, but always I think a good film for young people has these messages, and I think there's a real question in the film. We get pulled apart. People tell us, because you're not the same, you're not family. Because you're not exactly like her, you're not her mother. And that certainly strikes a chord with me. And I think Maleficent questions whether she's good enough to be a mother, and whether she is her mother. And so in the middle of this film, we go on different journeys, and she finds herself in this idea, well, I'm like this, I was born this way, so that must be my true nature. And I think, well, I guess I'm a creature, and I'm like this, so that must be my true nature. So we go through this period in the middle of the film where everybody's really focusing on their differences, how different we are, and we go to our own corners with our separate backgrounds or ways of being, or who we are, or how we're born. And then there's a real push to say this is not how it should be, and this is not how to live, and diversity makes us stronger, and there must be a better way forward, and we have to come together. And so we do that in the film with the humans and the creatures and the Morpho coming together. We do that as a family, and we come together and we fight against this separation, and we unite, and we say this is the world we choose to live in. And I think that is a really important message.
And Sam, Diaval has such a unique relationship with Maleficent. Can you talk about the evolution of that relationship in this film, as well as what's the behind the scenes? Because I remember seeing in the behind the scenes of the first film, flapping your arms and running out of a scene, ducking down because you're poof, turning into something else. But tell us about that evolution for this film.
Well, one of the things I really enjoyed about the first one was the sort of the bickering that we had between one another, and I imagine that's developed over the last 6 years. We've become sort of surrogate parents of Aurora, and Diaval is sort of one of the only ones who is brave enough to contradict her in some of her behaviours, or suggest, means of being more polite, or how humans behave. And we had a lot of fun playing this sort of thing. The thing about the movement is, I met a raven before the first one to study him. He's a big star in the bird world, and a movement coach, so that I could maybe incorporate bird-like mannerisms. And they wanted me to run around a room flapping my wings. And we can film this, he said. I was like, under no circumstances are we filming this. I mean, the transformation is a bit silly. I was more used to it this time, but I remember the first day on set of the very first film, Angie was stood with her back to me with the horns, and I had to go from being crouched down to jumping up in the air. And it's kind of embarrassing in front of a massive crew of people, but fortunately the special effects make it look fabulous.
Ella, speaking of which, I was thinking about how in the first movie your character is blessed with happiness. And yet in this movie she runs into a lot of really dark situations. But do you feel that personality trait that she has affects how you play the character and affects her experience?
Yes, I mean, obviously, in the original fairy tale, she's, granted with these gifts when she's a baby. And I think Aurora, she symbolizes the good and the kindness in the world and the acceptance, and obviously that was really shown in the first film because she's much younger and much more innocent, and but still introduced to some dark things. I mean, you kill my dad, so thanks, Mom. And so that, but it does carry over.
I don't know why people keep bringing that up.
But that does carry over, you know, into the second film. Right, I get it. It's okay. Carries over into the second film of her kind of embodying this. This really overwhelming love of life and want, and she lives in between both worlds. You know, she's a human, but she is queen of the Moors and has grown up amongst the Moor folk, and so she lives harmoniously with both sides, so she doesn't understand why the world can't do that. But she's, you know, in the second film, what's so great is that she's definitely a young woman now, and she's grown up, she is stronger, she has much more conviction in herself, and she's learning how to gain her independence. And then, you know, I love the family theme in the movie because it's very realistic to real life of growing up and kind of separating from leaving the nest, and also making your own choices in life. I mean, she obviously is disapproving of Prince Philip, but you know, we know that, you know, love wins, and she kind of, Aurora stands up to Maleficent, which is such a very, very strong moment in the film too. I think it might be, you know, shocking for fans to see that, because Aurora is taking charge of her own life. So, but with kindness, which is the, you know, the most powerful of all. We didn't want Aurora to then be, you know, oh, a lot of films they put her in armor and have a sword and she's fighting and like that makes her strong, and that's not Aurora's true nature, and that isn't necessarily true. I love that she symbolizes that for also young girls. Like, I was that girl, and I was always soft and wanted to be a mom and wanted to get married and very feminine, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so we get to show the strength in accepting your femininity, and Aurora does it in a pink dress. Very badass.
That's right.
So,
that's a real theme here, you know, just the nature of family, the families that you have, the families you choose, how those things can be in conflict and how they're resolved. You know, I think as well as different communities and how they work together and integrate or not, and what those complications are. And so there are a lot of, obviously it's for younger people, this film, but it's also, I mean, there's a lot of things that all of us, I think, can relate to and understand.
I don't know. I don't know if she's struggling. She's finding, for Maleficent, considering she is the mistress of evil, I think she's doing a pretty good job. You know, the father's a bird. You know, we have some severe issues going on. She's trying her best, and I think where she fails is that she doesn't believe in herself. She doesn't believe that she's a good mom. She doesn't see herself as a mom. But I think, you know, I questioned when I was first a mother whether I was good enough, and I think that a lot of good moms question whether or not they're good enough, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, we are. We're such a big, crazy family, and you know, Elle's grown up, and I feel Sam and I, there's a moment in this, we can't tell you what it is, but it's a sentimental, and we started crying, and we looked at each other, and we realized we don't know if it was the movie, the acting, or we just really just love her that much, and we're family now, and no, it's very special. It's very special, and.
But I do remember. Well, I don't know if we can say. There's a part of this movie where I have to like let her go a bit, and it wasn't in the script, and I didn't quite let her go, and Diabol has to come in and say, "Let her go," and that got me every time, because I would think of, you know, all of the kids, and then that moment that you really have to let them go. But it's also exciting.